Hi everyone, I welcome you all into this Dell Boomi session. So basically in the last session, we talked about integration with Salesforce, right? So we started talking about integration with Salesforce. What are the things we need to take care of? So first of all, have you all created Salesforce developer account?
Yes, Sumit.
All right. So guys, if you have not created it, please do create it. This integration example is very, very important. From the real time, or if you're planning to appear for any interviews, and if in your resume it is mentioned that you have done Salesforce integration, definitely they will give you preference, but then that will only happen once you know all the in and out of it, right? If you in your resume you write you have done Salesforce integration, but you're not aware about how it is done and all, then they'll understand that you're a fake candidate, right? You don't know this, you have kept fake experience. So please make sure you're following all these things minutely. Okay, now once we create a developer account, right? Which connector do we use in Boomi to establish the connectivity with Salesforce?
Salesforce.
Salesforce connector.
Okay, we have a connector with the name Salesforce connector, which is used to establish the connectivity with Salesforce. Okay, so now once we are done with this, what are the configurations we need to do in the connection part to establish the connectivity?
URL, username, password.
URL, username, password with token.
Very nice. We have URL, username, password. That password is nothing but password plus security token, right?
Yes.
How do you get the security token?
We need to
restore the security.
Yes, so you have to go to the settings.
And security.
There will be a quick find box. There you just type security or reset security token. You will get an option called as reset
security
token, and then the email gets triggered to your mail ID, right? So there you will find the security token, right? All right. So now for each record which we create in Salesforce, there is a unique ID. What is that unique ID called as?
User ID.
No, that is called as Salesforce ID or Salesforce record ID. Okay, that will be always unique for a specific record. Yes. And in which column does the value get stored for this unique ID? So what I'm trying to tell you is, okay, just give me a minute. So this is the Salesforce instance, right? We started working on, I have already logged into this. I'll go to accounts. So yesterday we created this account, testing Boomi account, isn't it? Now, where is the unique ID for this specific record? How can you find it?
In the URL.
Very nice. In the URL, you can find this unique ID, right? So internally, this ID is stored in a specific column. What is the name of that column? The name of the column is
ID column.
ID column. Very nice. The name of the column where Salesforce record ID is stored is column with the name ID itself, right? All right. So I hope you understand this, right? Which data type in Salesforce represents that this particular field is helping in establishing a relationship with a different object.
Lookup and master child.
Yeah, lookup and master. I think it's master detail. Okay, it's not master child. We can check on that, but yeah, you will see lookup being used very, very frequently. Master detail is used rarely, but lookup data type will help us to know that there is some kind of a parent-child relationship, right? So when we store the information in Salesforce, what is that logical entity in which the complete set of information is stored? Is it tables, objects, views, objects, right? What are the different types of objects do we have?
Custom
Standard and
object
custom.
and standard object.
Standard object, custom object.
Very nice. Standard objects, and we have
Custom object.
custom objects. So these objects will have some entity, right?
Fields.
Very nice. These all objects will have some fields. What are the different types of fields we have?
Standard fields, custom fields.
Very nice. We can have standard fields or custom
Custom
fields.
fields.
Do we create standard fields?
No.
No, by
No,
default.
right?
By default.
Standard fields will be there by default, right? We will always create custom fields, right? Can custom object have standard fields?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it will also have standard fields. For example, if anybody asks you an example, ID column is a standard field or not? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, some other standard fields which will always be there is like created by, created date, last modified by, last modified date. So these all are standard fields which will be always there, whether it is a standard object or a custom object, right? So now we understood this. We try to pull the data from the Salesforce. While we pull the data from the Salesforce in Boomi, what is the data format?
XML.
XML format.
Very nice. XML format is the one which is, so your data is represented in XML format when it is pulled in Boomi, right? When it is pulled from SFDC. What is SFDC?
Salesforce
Salesforce.com.
developer.
Salesforce.com.
Yeah, it's salesforce.com. Okay. Some people write SF also. That means only Salesforce. Okay. Both conventions might be used in the industry, so you must be aware of it. Okay. Now we try to pull the data, right? So if you recall, we started with some small integration where we had a start shape of no data type, then try catch, then Salesforce connector, right? So this is the connection which we created. So ideally, should we reuse the connection?
Yes.
Yes. So what we should have done is this connection when we created,
Common connection.
Go into the common folder.
Common folder.
so we should have moved it to the
Common
common folder, right? So I'll take SFDC from here and I'll move it to
connections.
connections. So I'll just cross verify if it has really moved. Go to connections. Can you see Salesforce now? Yes. And from the bottom, if you will see under Salesforce, you only have operations. You don't have connections anymore, right? So it is a convention to push all the connections into a common folder so that it can be easily reused across, right? So now when we try to read the data, so this profile got created. There are a lot of fields. You can see the SOCL also, right, which is internally getting generated. Now there is another tool which I talked about, right, where you can run the SOCL queries, which is that
Workbench.
Workbench, right? So you can use Workbench also to run certain queries. That will be very helpful sometimes when you're working on Boomi and Salesforce integration. Then that Workbench will be very, very helpful. So here we saw some of the filters also, right? So we tried with a couple of different filters. First, we tried with a name, and then I think Priyanka asked some question, and we tried with a different filter, that is created date. Now, when I run this test, can I use only local Atom, or I can use Atom Cloud also?
Atom Cloud also.
Atom Cloud also.
We can use Atom Cloud also because
Salesforce
Atom Cloud is used only for the cloud-based integrations. Right now, we are integrating with only one system, and that is cloud-based. That's why we can use either local Atom or Atom Cloud, any of these, right? So when you come to this top shape, you see a lot of data being pulled, right? There is a lot of data. There are a lot of documents. Now, if you remember, there is a limit on the number of documents that can be processed in the build tab. What is that?
100 MB.
100 documents
100 documents
or
or
100 MB
100
of
documents
data.
or 100 MBD.
Very nice. Either 100 documents or 100 MB. This is a certification question. Either 100 documents or 100 MB, which is achieved first, right? So now when I'm doing unit testing, right? And if you feel I don't want to pull so much of data, there is something called as query limit. So let's say I want to pull 5 records or 5 documents at a time. Okay, I'm just telling you about this property. Sometimes it is used in real time also, that we want to process, let's say 100 documents at a time. So in that case, you can put 100 over here so that your process doesn't get overshoot with the, so many documents. So now if you see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many documents are there? 5 documents, right? Let us see few of these documents. First document has ID, name, and the phone number, right? And the name is Edge Communications. The second account has a different ID, and this Burlington Textiles Corporation of America. This is Pyramid Construction. Okay, likewise, we have how many documents? 5 documents. Now there is a question. Now here is a question for you. So eventually we want to push this data to the database. Okay, that is fine. We will anyhow achieve that. But before that, let's assume we get a requirement. Okay, we get a requirement to log the name of each account which is being read.
Notify shape
Notify shape.
Where should I use notify shape?
after Salesforce.
After the Salesforce connection.
Okay, so after this, I want to do some logging. Let's say I want to use notify shape. Okay, so I'll go to the notify. Let's say I'm saying account name is, what does this curly braces 1 indicate?
Variable.
So it is some dynamic parameter which will be populated, right? And how do we populate that?
Plus in the variables.
Plus in the variables. Here there are different types. So which one should we choose? Should we choose static, connector call, cross-reference lookup?
Profile element.
We should choose profile element. And what type of profile should we choose?
XML.
Why are we choosing XML profile?
We get XML data from Salesforce.
Very nice, because we get the data in the XML format from the Salesforce. So we choose the XML profile. And do we need to create the profile, or there is an already existing one?
It's already existing.
It's already existing, right? So we need to go to our folder which we have been working on. That is this one. This one, right? And under the elements, which element should be chosen?
Name,
right? I'll hit OK. I'll hit save. Now there are some options also over here, right? Enable events, enable user log, and write once per execution. Okay. So right now I will leave everything as is and I'll just run the test. Okay. There is nothing much we are trying to do over here. I just want to see if you guys remember, because you will get these kind of requirements in real time also, right? So you should know which shape to use, how to configure that shape, right? All right, everything runs smooth. We go to the notify shape. So what are we getting to see? Parameter 1 value is Edge communication. Yes, then parameter 1 value is equal to Burlington. Parameter 1 value is equal to pyramid. Then parameter 1 value is equal to Dickinson, and so on, right? Even if you want to go here in the process logs, you can go to view logs for the notify shape. Can you see account name is blah, 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 blah. You are getting all the accounts. Yes. Now what do we do is we go to the notify shape. I would say write once per execution. So write once means it should write only one time for execution. So we want to see what if there is any change in the behavior, right? Save all the stuff, run the test again. So what happened is right now, some issue has happened. Yes. So if you are not able to see the error properly, you can sometimes remove try catch shape also. Okay. So I'll just repeat what I've done is I've written account name is this. I'm nothing. I haven't changed anything. Only I've added this property write once per execution. So it is saying test execution of this process completed with errors, attempting profile value extraction with no document. Okay. So now what we are doing is here, if you see how many documents are coming as an input, multiple documents, right? And this notify shape is going to execute for all these documents, but then you have set a property write once per execution. So which is contradicting, right? So that is contradicting with the behavior you have right now. If you had only one document, right, so then it might have worked absolutely fine, but you have multiple documents and you're using write once per execution. So that's why it is creating an issue. So you have to be a little cautious while configuring this property, this write once per execution. So this has to be used in the cases where for the whole execution you want the logging to happen only once. Okay. And you have to also see that if you have multiple documents coming as an input, then in that case, it may not work as expected. Another important thing is, let's say after the Salesforce, right, we had some map shape. What does map shape do?
Transform.
It does some kind of transform, right? And let's say I just add over here, choose XML profile. This is the profile I have, right? And in the target, let's say again, there is XML profile. I'll create a new profile. I'll say I'll create manually and I'll say root. Okay. This root will have, let's say, some child, which is ID. And that's all. And I map ID to ID. Okay. I'm just giving an example over here. Save. Run the test again. So what I've done is whatever XML data we were getting, right, we have tried to basically convert that into a different XML format, right? So when I go here, I get an input and that input is nothing but a XML document. Yes. So we are just mapping the IDs, right, into a different XML format. Now, when I go to this notify shape, I'll go to the process logs. I go to the logs. So what it is saying, account name is null, 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 null. Why it is saying null?
Because it is not
Because
the
you mapped only for
profile which has the different profile is this.
Okay. So now let me do one thing. Let me go here to this profile. Let's say I add another child element, which is, let's say, name. and I'll map this name to this name. Save and close. Run the test.
Even now you can't get
Okay, now we go to the logs. Still we are getting null. Why are we getting null?
profile is not changed in the notify shape.
Absolutely correct. So if you go to the notify shape, you are choosing the previous profile, right? But now when the control comes to your notify shape, your format has changed, isn't it? Your format has changed. Earlier you had one sort of XML profile, and now after transformation, you have a different format. Though it is XML, but it is a different format, right? So your profile definition has changed. And now in the notify shape, you are still referring the first profile definition, which is kind of contradictory. So in order to address this, what should have been done? We should have used the new profile, right? So we'll go here, we'll select, I think this is the one, name, okay, and this might work. So these are common mistakes which we all do, right? We will make changes at one part. We do not make changes at other part. We keep on wondering why things are not working. So just make sure when you are making changes in the profile, right? The corresponding changes in other shapes are also made. So now you go to the notify shape. I can straight away jump onto the logs. Again, you start getting back your account name and all this stuff, right?
Sumit, I have a doubt here.
Mm-hmm.
So before also we got XML profile, right?
Hmm.
Why it is not there also we had multiple XML profiles, but now here after mapping we are getting multiple XML profiles. You have
Multiple XML profiles or multiple XML documents?
XML documents. So here you have given once per execution only, right?
No, I have not given anything here.
Okay. I thought you gave that. Sorry.
Yeah. So the only thing which I wanted to try to tell you is that in the notify shape, you have to refer the right profile, and the right profile will be the one which represents your current data format, right? So there may be multiple XML profiles, but you have to choose the one that is in line with the current format of the data. And the same profile should be chosen while configuring your shapes so that you can see the right values getting populated. All right. So I think this is another important thing. Now, the reason why I started all this notify shape and all this, let's say this mapping of name is not there. Okay. There is no element like name. Okay. There is no element with the name, or maybe we can remove it. How can we remove it? We can go here and we can say delete element, isn't it? Now, but still here, I want to log the name of the accounts. How can you do that? I'll repeat. I'm doing a mapping from the Salesforce format to another intermediary format where we are just mapping the IDs. Okay. And in this notify shape, I still want to log the account names. How can I do that?
We can change the profile.
We can change the profile. Which profile?
First profile.
This one?
Yes.
And what do you want me to change?
SF account query response.
We can't get, I guess, because notify shape is receiving new XML profiles.
Okay. There is a way. Okay. So whenever you want to store certain values temporarily, what are the options we have?
Dynamic properties, dynamic properties, dynamic document property, dynamic process.
Dynamic document property.
Right. So we have some mechanisms, right? So there are options like dynamic document property. And let's say there are only two options for now, dynamic document property and dynamic process property. Yes, these are the two options you have. Now you tell me one thing, the name which you want to store right now, right? Is it going to be one per process or is it going to change per document?
Change for document.
Change to the document. So
So which
dynamic document properties we should use.
Dynamic document.
so should you choose dynamic document property or dynamic process property?
Dynamic
Dynamic
document.
document.
Okay. So now what do I do over here is, so whenever I want to set the values of the properties, right, which shape do I need to make use of?
Set property shape.
Property shape.
We have a set property shape. Here we'll use a set property shape. So in the set property shape, we will take a dynamic document property. So dynamic document property, typically you write like this, DDP underscore account name is what I'm writing. Okay, I'll just keep this handy somewhere over here. Maybe this here. And what should it be mapped to? Parameters.
Profile element.
Document
Profile
property.
element name.
Profile element, XML profile. And where is that XML profile?
New folder.
And here we should choose name. Yes. All right. Now within the set property shape, can I set another property, or the set property shape is used to set only one property at a time?
We can set multiple values.
Multiple properties.
We can set multiple values also, right? This is also a very common question which will be there in the mind of the beginners. Okay, so we will add one more, and this time I want to set what? Dynamic process property, DPP, and this one also I'll name DPP underscore account name. And in the parameters, I'll again choose the same stuff, profile element, XML profile. Yes, account name. So these are two different properties. One is dynamic document property and another is dynamic process property. Your answer is correct. Ideally, we should choose dynamic document property, but I just want to see the difference. Yeah. So in this notify shape, right, I will write account name is this, and here what should I choose?
Dynamic DDP.
Ideally, I should choose. So some of you might get confused when you go to this parameter value. Do you see some dynamic document property?
No, we should go to document property and then go to this.
So you should go to document property, and here you will get a drop down called as dynamic document property.
Why we have to navigate like this? Why can't we go directly?
I don't know why haven't they given directly. Even I wonder about that.
Okay.
Yeah. So here there is account name. Now I will add one more notify shape, which is kind of, can we copy paste? Yes. I'll add one more notify shape. And in this notify shape, what do I want to log?
DPP.
I want to log DPP. So whenever you're logging these properties, make sure you're copying the exact same names. Instead of typing, prefer to do a copy paste. So here this time it should be document property or some other property.
Dynamic process property.
Dynamic process property, right?
Yes.
All right. So we have two different notify shapes, right? This is logging or this is logging document property, or I will write logging DDP, and this one is logging DPP. Make sense? All right. I'll save all the stuff. We'll clear the clipboard, and now we'll try to run the test. Okay. So we go to the set property shape. So if you see here, what it is saying, parameter 1 value is equal to edge communication. What it is saying, parameter 1 value is equal to edge communication. What else we have? Then it is saying parameter 1 value is equal to pyramid construction. We have so many other logs also. So sometimes you will see only few of the logs, right? You have to make a note of this. You see one of 25 or 45, right? You have some other logs also. So you can go to the next and you can see parameter 1 value is equal to something like Grand Hotels and all also coming. Parameter 1 value is Dickinson, right? So you are getting different values. Where is parameter 2? Okay, maybe we'll go here. Okay, we'll go here. Actually, sometimes these logs are a little confusing. So we'll go here. We have the set property shape, that's fine. Then we go to logging. So there are two different loggings, right? One is logging DDP, right? So here what you see, account name is Edge Communication, Burlington, and all these things which you were seeing even earlier, isn't it? I'm going to the DDP part, and when I see the notify shape logger, it is logging all the same accounts which were being logged earlier. Now I go to the logging DPP. Logging DPP. Which one are you seeing?
Only one.
Only one last.
Only
It says last, right? Yeah.
You are seeing the one which was at the last, but how many times?
5 times.
Why we are seeing 5 times?
Because we had selected
We
the
have five. We have 5 documents. That's why.
It is rewriting.
Yes,
Yeah,
so we have 5
overwriting.
documents. See, understand this. This is very important to understand. When you come to this set property shape, right? In this set property shape, what is happening is this dynamic document property is there. And how many dynamic document property instances will get created? One per document. Yes, one per document. So if we have 5 documents, this will have 5 different instances. Whereas dynamic process property will be one
For
for the
execution.
whole
Per
process.
process.
for whole process.
For the complete process, right? So now what happens over here is first document value will come here. Let's say first document value is edge communications. So DPP account name will be edge communication, but that will keep on getting overridden, right? And whatever is the last value that gets stored in the DPP account name. Yes. And when you go over here, when you go to logging, how many documents do we have over here?
5.
5 documents, right? Now for 5 documents, this will execute multiple times, right? And each time, what will be the value in the account name? Whatever was the last value which was stored over here. Are you guys understanding? So let me do one thing. Let me run it one more time. This is important to understand. It might be confusing for few of you. So let's look at it again. So we go to the set property shape. We come to this map shape. So here, if you see how many documents are coming, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for each of these documents, it is going to look for a property, right? So now what happens is in the first logger, we are logging dynamic document property. Now what has happened for the dynamic document property is in this shape, in the set property shape, when you come here, right? So dynamic document property will be one per document. So you had 5 documents. So you will have 5 different values stored in the dynamic document property. Whereas second time you were trying to set the dynamic process property. So 5 documents have 5 different values. So the dynamic process property is 1. So that will keep on getting overridden. And at the final, you may have the value, which is nothing but something like Grand Hotels and Resorts. Yeah. You may have the value like Grand Hotels and Resorts. And when you go to this logger, the second one, which is kind of logging the value of DPP. You can see parameter one value is equal to Grand Hotels and Resorts. Again, Grand Hotels and Resorts. Again, Grand Hotels and Resorts. So why we are seeing the same value multiple times? Because the number of documents which are input to this is 5. So this logger will execute how many times? 5 times, right? This logger will execute how many times?
5 times.
5 times. But the dynamic process property value is same. It is not going to change for any of these documents. And that's why we see that same logger getting logged 5 times. So if you go here into the logs, logging DDP, you would see different names. Account name is this, blah, blah stuff. And when you go to DPP, you see account name is Grand Hotels and Resorts Limited. Again, Grand Hotels and Resorts Limited. Same thing getting repeated multiple times. So the point I'm trying to say is when you go over here, there are 5 different documents, right? But then your DPP is same for all of these. And that's why you are seeing the same stuff getting logged 5 different times. So that is why you have to choose the right property between the DPP and DDP. So what your thought process has to be that the value which I'm going to store, is it going to be same for all the documents? Then you can go for DPP. If it is going to vary from one document to another, then you have to go for DDP. Are you guys following this so far?
Yes, Sumit.
Yes, Sumit.
Is it confusing? Anyone who did not understand this? Okay. So let's say you understood this. Now we have this all is not required. So I'll remove this all for time being. This was just added to explain you about DDP and DPP. Now we want to push this data to the to the database, right? So what kind of data is this? This is accounts related data. So we'll go to the database. We'll create a table. So what all information we should have? ID of which type? Varchar2, I'll say 100. Then name, Varchar2, I'll say 100. And then what else we are getting? I would say 20. So table got created. And if I want to look at this table, this is APR underscore accounts. So we have ID, name, and the phone number for the time being, right? We can push this data to the database. So now what do we need to do, guys?
Database map and then database.
Okay, so let's say I get a database connector first. Okay, we could use map and database, which is absolutely correct. So now when I'm configuring this database connector, what should be the action? Send or get? Send. Right, absolutely correct. How about connection? Should I create a new connection?
Old connection.
No, it's already there.
It's already there, right? We should try to reuse it. This is the connection, right? If you want, you can quickly test it out. Okay. Now, how about operation? We need to create a new one.
New one, yes.
So I'll write Oracle DB insert accounts data. Okay, or you can write insert Salesforce account, whatever you feel are comfortable with. So I'll say profile. So I'll write DB accounts profile. Click on statement, and I'll say I want to do a dynamic insert. I'll click on import. I'll choose the connection. And do we know the object? It is APR underscore accounts, right?
Sumit, I guess it should be in capitals.
Okay, I think you think, okay, let's try to add in the capital. Yes, I think you faced this issue, right? While you were doing this.
Yes.
So you can select these all fields, finish. Your profile automatically gets created. Yes. Save and close, save and close, hit OK. So your database connector configuration is done. Now you have to use a stop shape. Okay. Now let's assume this is what you had, right? I'll just assume this was a set property shape. And let's say this map shape is still there. Okay. Now what will you do if you want to push the data to the database?
Change the profile in map shape. So target profile.
And let's say this profile you cannot change. Okay. This profile is as is. Because of some reason, this profile is, let's say, as is. You can't change this. But you want to pass the complete data. What are you reading from here? The same data you want to pass to the database. Is it possible?
No, we need to add one more map.
Okay, let's add one more map. Okay, so what will be the input to this map?
New XML profile.
Okay, so we'll have to choose an existing profile, and that will be an XML profile. Where is it lying? We'll go to the folder. This one, new XML profile. Absolutely correct. And what about the target?
Yeah.
Already there.
Which one?
You need to choose database profile, which is already present.
Okay, we need to choose a database profile which is already present, which is DB accounts profile, right? So now when I go here, I can map ID to ID. What about the remaining fields?
So here you can choose.
How can we map remaining fields, guys?
You can choose the XML file which you get from Salesforce. I don't remember the name.
Okay, I'll repeat. So from here we are pulling the Salesforce data, right? So let's say we are getting 5 documents, right? And in each document there are 3 different things, right? ID, name, and the phone number, right? Now after that I have an intermediate profile, and that intermediate profile is just mapping ID. What is lost? After this mapping, what is lost?
Name and
phone number.
Name and phone number are lost. But then again, I want to do a final mapping. And in that final mapping, I need to pass both name and the phone number. So what can we do is, any suggestions you have?
we can add message shape.
Where can I add a message shape?
Or else we can change the...
I want to use this only. I mean, I don't want to remove this map and all.
No idea.
So if you go to this map, under functions,
you can get DDP values.
You have some properties function?
Yes,
Yes or no? Do you have some get document property?
Yes.
Yes. And do you have some dynamic document property? And did you store the value in the dynamic document property?
Yes. DDP account.
Did you store the account name or not? Can you do mapping like this?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. So you have one document, you have get dynamic document property, and phone number is still pending, right? First, we'll see if this is working as expected. If this is working fine, then can we easily get the phone number also?
Yes, we can get.
We can get, right? So first I'll add a stop shape over here just to see if it is working as expected. Okay, you come to this stop shape. How many documents?
5.
5, right? So I'll go to the first document. Can you see the name? There is an ID, and along with ID, can you see the name?
Yes.
In the second document, can you see the name? Yes, right? So that means you're able to retrieve the name using this function, get document property, isn't it? If instead of this get document property, if I was using get, let's say if I was using another function, get dynamic process property,
You will get same name for all
then in that case, what would have happened? I would have got the same name for all the accounts, which was incorrect, right? So now how do I get a phone number? Instead of this, can I change this to
Phone number.
I should choose which one?
the
DDP phone number. Okay, and here you'll have to get the same profile, but in the same profile, which element?
Phone.
number.
Phone, right? Hit OK, save. Now what do you have to do over here?
Add one more
Functions. Which functions? Properties.
document.
Get document property.
Choose.
And you have to get dynamic document. Give that value and do this mapping. In real time, a lot of times what will happen is your formats might change, but you still want to map the values at a later stage, right? So you may want to store the data using this document properties or process properties so that you can retrieve it later on in the map shape. And how can you retrieve it later on in the map shape? Using function. I think I told you about this function. Maybe you guys forgot, which is fine. Okay, but then you have to remember inside the functions, there is a category called as properties. Right? So now can we run end-to-end test? Can we use Atom Cloud now?
No, because database is installed in local system.
So ideally, answer is no, because the database is in the local system, right? Whereas Atom. So can you see java.net.socket permission? It cannot find it out. So which Atom should have been used?
Local Atom.
Local Atom. So why don't we see anything on the stop ship? This is again an important question which a lot of people ask me. I think I already talked about it, but yeah.
Because
You can't put any
data
profile or document from database to stop ship.
Yes, so database does not return any document back when we perform the insert operation. And for any shape to execute, a document has to act on it, right? So that's why we see the flow getting stopped over here. We don't see that green color bold mark on the stop ship. Now what we can do is we can go here and we can quickly run a select query. All right, so if you just expand this, scroll up, first document, first account, Edge Communications, second one, Burlington Textiles Corporation of America. And you have to also see the phone numbers are not same, right? That means it is working fine. Then there is Pyramid Construction, INC, then there is Dickinson, then there is Grand Hotels and Resorts. So it means this is working absolutely fine. You are able to push the data as expected and things look good. Any questions so far in this example? Do you understand how to basically choose between the dynamic process property and dynamic document property? Now let me ask you this. If let's say here the query limit is 1, which says you will always get one document at a time, then which
DPP.
property can you choose?
DPP.
You can choose any of that, any of these, right? You can choose DDP and you can choose DPP also, right? Isn't it?
Yes.
So please take care of all those things. I'll give you some more scenarios where you have to decide whether I have to use DPP or DDP. We'll continue talking about more scenarios, but I hope we are good so far with this one.
Yes. Sir.
All right. So now what we'll do is we are into the Salesforce folder, right? We created SFDC integration. We started with some process, read accounts data. Now I want to do other way around. This time I will not do anything. You guys have to tell me what to do, right? So I'll create a new component process and the process name is insert accounts data. So we want to insert accounts data into the Salesforce. We started with the start shape of no data type in a new process. Let's say the data is going, the data will be read from the same table where we wrote, right? The information. We have to read the data from the table, right? And we have to eventually insert the same data. Okay. We have to eventually insert the same data into the Salesforce. Just one thing we will be doing is we will prepend APR underscore to the account's name so that account names are not redundant. Because if I will try to insert the same information, we'll get redundancy in Salesforce, isn't it? Because
Yes.
these accounts are already existing in Salesforce, right? So what I'm saying is I want to pull this information from the database. I want to push it to the Salesforce. And while doing so, I want to prepend APR underscore to all the account names. So how should we get started?
Try catch shape.
Try cache.
Okay. Let's say try cache shape. Very nice.
Database.
Now here is one requirement. I also want to make sure that the execution ID is set and it is logged in the beginning of the process. What should I do?
After start shape, you should use set property shape, and there you have to set execution ID.
Okay. So now let's say my requirement is just to make sure that I just log the execution ID. So one way it can be done is I will straight away use a notify shape. And here I will just give a hard coded text execution ID. And where do I get this value from?
Variables plus.
Execution property in that.
Very nice. We go to this section type, and in the type we'll go to execution property, and here we can go to the execution ID. So straight away can do that. If at all you want to store that execution ID in certain property, then you can make use of DDP or DPP.
DPP.
DPP. Why DPP?
Once per execution.
Yeah. So this execution ID is going to remain same for the whole execution of a process. So you can choose DPP for that. Okay. Do not use DDP for that kind of case. All right. So we have a try catch shape. What should we do next?
Okay, we need to connect database connector.
All right. Let's make it fast, guys. Okay. Database connector. Very nice. In the try branch or the catch branch?
Try branch.
Try branch.
Try branch. Very nice. Action should be get or send.
It's get.
It's get. Get.
Select the
What about the connection? Should we create a new connection?
Already.
select the connection from all.
Reuse the connection.
You have to reuse the connection. Very nice. Can we reuse the operation?
No.
No.
Okay. So we have to create a new one. And what is that? Let's say Oracle DB.
Read.
read
Data.
counts data. You create a new profile. Go to statements. We'll hit on import. This one atom, same connection, and which is that APR underscore accounts. So here the learning is we have to give the object name in uppercase.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So we select this. Select all the fields which you want to pull. Finish. So you see the fields are there, and here your query automatically gets generated. Right now, do we have any filter in this query?
No.
Filter or any where clause? Nothing. Okay. So right now we don't have it, but in real time, you will not have queries like this. You will definitely have some kind of a where clause. Yes. So for now, we can live with this. That's fine. We'll say save and close. Now there is something called as batch count and the max rows. Max rows decide that how many rows you want to pull at most. So let's say I want to pull, how many rows are there in the database, right? 5, right? So let's say I want to pull 2. Max rows is 2 and the batch count is 1. What is going to happen?
It is going to read one row at a time. Up to 2 times it will read.
So it will pull 2 rows and those 2 rows will be split into 2 different documents.
Okay.
Okay. So now let's say I don't keep max rows anything. I will go with the default configurations. Okay. This is important to understand. Save and close. Hit OK. And I'll just add a stop shape. Okay. Because it's a good practice to test your process in chunks instead of testing everything in a single go.
Yes.
Yes. I'll just save it. And this time, can I use an Atom Cloud?
No.
No.
Only
All right. So I'll quickly run the test. How many documents are you expecting over here on the stop ship?
2.
5.
Okay.
Oh,
So there'll be a single document. Let's see. Stop shape, shape source data. How many documents?
Single
Only one document. And the reason is the default behavior of the database connector is it will pull all the records in a single document. So you will have all the data. Can you see all the data here? Edge communications. This Burlington is also there. Right Pyramid also there. Dickinson is also there. Grand Hotels and Resorts. But the whole data set is being pulled into a single document. Now you go back here. This is one of the certification questions in the architect exam. Now let's say I say max rows as 1. Okay, what do you think is going to happen?
Only one row it will get fetched.
One document, and that one document with the data for one account. Stop shape, shape source data. You get a single document. And in that single document, you get only one account data. And that is edge communications, right?
Yes.
Isn't it? All right. Now we go back here. Now I just remove the max rows and I can see batch count is, let's say, 1. What do you think is going to happen?
No, I think
You
5.
get 5 documents with one.
Yes, 5 documents, each document containing an individual account's data.
Yes.
Stop shape, shape source data. How many documents? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll check the last one. It should be which one? Grand Hotels. Yes. And which is the first one? Edge communications, right?
Edge communication.
All right. So you can break document into multiple things. I mean, you can break the records into multiple documents. If I make batch count as 2, then what's going to happen? How many documents?
You made batch count as 2, right?
I'll show you again the configurations. Max rows I
Three
haven't touched.
documents.
Batch count is 2.
3 documents.
3 documents. Even I feel 3 documents. Let's see how many documents do we actually get. Stop shape source data, 3 documents. Yes. So the first one, this all is very, very important, guys, to understand. Edge communications and then Burlington one. Yes.
Can you explain me once again why we are receiving only 3 documents?
Because I'll explain you. You will understand it. So observe these documents. In the first document, what all data we have? Edge communication and Burlington Textiles Corporation of America. So how many accounts finished? 2 accounts, right? In the second one, let's observe. Pyramid and the Dickinson one. Which one is left?
Grand hotels and resorts.
Grand Hotels and Resorts one is left. We come here, the third one. So now why we are getting 3 documents, Ramya? I think it was Ramya, right, who was speaking?
Swapna Sumit.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't recognize the voices. Okay. So in the batch count, we have 2. Okay. So what you are saying is whatever data is there that you divide in the batches of 2. So you have 5 records. So you start dividing in the batch of 2. So first 2 records went in the first batch, which created first document. Next 2 records went into the second batch, which created the second document. Now you are left with how many records? 1, right?
Yeah.
But your batch count is 2, but it will still pull that and accommodate that in the third document. Now, in case you had one more record in the database, let's say there were 6, then how many documents you might have had?
3.
Still, you would have 3 documents only.
Yes.
Okay. The reason why you are getting third document is because you do not you actually want to pull 2 records, but you don't have 2 records. So it will not leave that record. It will still pull that record, and that will be like a single record or in the whole document. Is that clear, Swapna?
Yes, Sumit, it's clear now.
All right. So I'll go with the default configurations for now. Okay. So what is the default behavior?
You get a single document.
Single document in top shape.
We got a single document, right? Now what is next? Let's make it quick. Map. Then what is there after map?
Salesforce.
Salesforce. Action should be?
And
do we have the connection?
yes.
Yes, we do have, right?
Yes.
So now the operation will be SFDC, insert, accounts, data. What should we do, guys? Import.
Yes.
Then there is a connection. Do we already have a connection? Where is our connection residing?
Common.
Yes. Now there are some bulk APIs. If you want to push some bulk data, you can use bulk APIs V1 and V2. Right now, do we have bulk data? We just have 5 records, right? We'll go to next. So by default, it is pointing to which object? Account, right? So which is the one we need? So you have create, update, upsert, delete, merge.
Update.
Create. We will go for create. And one of the tasks for you is, what is the difference between upsert and merge? You have to find it out. You have to find out what is the difference between upsert and merge. For now, we need create. We'll hit next. All right, it is taking some time for building that object tree. All right, so if you choose any, if you want to push the data into multiple objects at a time, you can select any of the child objects. I want only account for now, so I'll not check anything from that. It will automatically create a profile. Which format that profile will be in?
XML.
XML, absolutely correct. And there is a flag called as return application error responses. Okay, we'll talk about this flag tomorrow. This is an important flag. I'll just do the configurations, and now it is a matter of configuring the map shape. All right, so we'll go to map, return plus. Do I need to create the profiles from scratch, or these are already existing?
Already existing.
The left one will be which one? The database one?
Yeah.
Come here quickly. This should be which one? New database or which?
New account database.
Let us check it out. I think this is the one. Maybe I forgot to rename it. If you're not sure, don't worry. You can go to the, here, can you see which one is this? New database profile. If you want to name it properly, you can say DB accounts profile. Okay. I'll just name it full accounts profile just to make sure that I'm not confused. Can you see the name automatically got modified over here? Yes. And this one I will map DB accounts to
Salesforce.
See accounts. What about this one? Which format?
XML.
XML. Very nice. XML is correct. We'll go here. SFDC integration. Now this time query or create?
Create.
Create. Very nice. So now do you do the mapping for ID? Do you see ID column in insert? You don't see it, right? Why don't you see it? Because ID is implicitly generated, isn't it? ID is something which is implicitly generated, guys. You don't need to create that. Okay. So what all do we need to map? Phone number and
Name.
Name. Can we do the mapping of name as is?
Yes.
Actually, if you want, you can do it. Salesforce allows you to have two accounts with the same name, but then I don't want to create any kind of redundancy. So I will use function.
Yeah.
And I will say string function and I'll say string concatenate, or there is something called as string prepend. Yes or no? So it is asking me original string, fixed to length and character to prepend. APR underscore is the character to prepend. And where is my original string? This one and this one. Looks good. Save and close. Let's quickly run the test. Okay. So now when it runs the test, let's see what is the data which went in to the Salesforce. Can you see APR got prepended?
Yes.
Yes. Now from the Salesforce, we are getting something back that is the same data. Okay. So how can we verify whether the data got inserted or not? We'll go to the Salesforce org, right? We'll go to the accounts. And
all accounts.
I'll go to all accounts. Can you see APR underscore 345 and the phone numbers, and account owner is Sumit Agarwal. So that means that data got successfully inserted into the Salesforce instance.
Yes.
Yep. So it works as expected. It hardly took us 10 minutes to develop this. So there are a few more things. We'll talk about those. But yeah, I hope you get a basic idea how to play around with these profiles, components, how to do the map shape, difference between dynamic process property and dynamic document property. And we'll continue with more use cases, in tomorrow's session. Thanks, everyone.